the more horizontal your slice is, the more it's gonna stand out. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this episode of FSC Live with me, Brian. Today we're gonna be doing some color. I was mulling over in my head what I thought would be really fun, and this is gonna be one of those classes where we serve an actual look rather than me trying to give you just building blocks or whatever. There was an actual look that I had in mind for this, and this was something that I am finding myself able to do in the salon. So I wanted to pass it along because there's a lot of different scenarios where this technique will come into play, or certain things that you could do to change it up to make it so this will work for you and your guests in the salon. So this is going to be centered around adding in some depth using a permanent color, as well as painting in a little bit more dimension to work with the previous dimension already in the hair to create multiple layers, and then finished off with a really nice glaze, toner, however you choose to word that, over the top to really bring all of the colors that we've put together into the same cohesive look. So I've got, like I said, typical sectioning that we've used in many of our looks. I've got her right down the mohawk, and then from the corners, the back corners of that mohawk, I created triangles of my side panels to go right up to the hairline, leaving this back section as one panel in and of itself. All right, so I am gonna be whipping out my my little Vellon foiling comb because I'm too lazy to do an actual baby light myself. I went ahead and pre-mixed just because I don't have the scale with me and I didn't feel like making more of a mess. So I pre-mixed my 6C from XG. It really is a very cool color. It has a lot of intensity to it. It's very pretty. So we're going to start with the foils in the side panels and the back, just because I like to work in a scenario like this. Working from the bottom up is easy because then I'm not like getting in my own way. The reason I'm using highlight comb to start is because along the hairline, think about the fact that you're putting in a low light, which means the negative space that you're not highlighting is actually a highlight. It's sort of the reverse of how we normally go about this. So I'm keeping that in mind as I do this front hairline piece. What I'm not highlighting, or what I'm not foiling, is technically the hair's highlight. So when you're highlighting, you want highlights around the face. So since I'm technically low lighting, I want to make sure that I'm leaving some hair that would technically be its highlight around the face. So this is what's going to be lighter. There's her highlight. So this weave will be the low light. All right, so we're working in the side panel. I've got all right, so coming in, because I'm not that far off the hairline, I am gonna go ahead and make it another weave. Just because, since we are going in with something on the bolder side with this red, I don't want, when she pulls her hair back, which is going to happen to everybody, I don't want to see a line of that sheet of color when the hair gets pushed back. So as I'm moving back from the hairline, it's up to you. If you want a more bold pop with this red, then you're going to start to want to move your diagonal a little more horizontal, just because the more horizontal your slice is, the more it's gonna stand out as it comes down vertically. So again, moving to the back, I've switched to just slices because I want this to really explode out through the hair. Again, knowing that if this is a temporary love of red, that eventually this red will pretty much fade off to like a soft light brown, maybe with some warmth to it, but certainly something that you can have a little bit more freedom to do with what you want in the future. And you see what's cool, what I was talking about, where in reality you're going to be working on guests that probably already have some dimension in their hair. That's even going to help out here, because while I'm creating this low light, we're going to be hitting hair that is natural, but I'm also hitting some hair that's highlighted. So in just one foil, I'm already going to be getting built-in dimension. So this is a really cool look when it comes to Salon Reality, because you're getting more dimension than you even put work into it. All right, so I got my sides. In the back, this is really up to your artistic desires. I personally am a big fan, just like when I'm doing highlights, I like to think about what you're gonna see when the hair is laying down. This is another time when you're gonna take that into consideration. So even if you don't want to go all the way through the back, I would at least make sure you hit those, I don't know, those sections that slice, weave, whatever you're comfortable with, right on the hairline behind the ear, because this is such an important spot, because that's what's going to create the color when they look at themselves in the mirror or in a photo or whatever. So getting that red right there is going to give that nice pop of that low light right around the face. All right, so just putting a couple of highlights right here on either side of this back hairline is just gonna give a really nice pop effect when the hair is worn down. All right. So I'm gonna let down this Mohawk section. Remember, when you create your Mohawk section, wherever they part just needs to be within that Mohawk. She just so happens to be down the center, but let it all lay, because now we're just gonna create some more highlights and dimension through here, so that when we go in and overlay it with what we're going to at the very end, that's where your highlights of red are really gonna pop. I am choosing to do so with Paul Mitchell's Skylights, because that's how I get down with my balayage. All right, so now, because I want my brightest highlights to be the money piece, we're just gonna start in the front. So again, I like to pull it in the direction it's going, because this is what the world is going to see, so this is where I need to paint. So on this side, same thing. Pull this side of the money piece the direction it's gonna live, and then create the effect that you want based on what the world is gonna see. So now, you would just look at your guest and look at where you may want any extra dimension in this hair. She is highlighted along her part, so I don't know that she necessarily needs a lot going on up here. But because we've created some real depth in the meat of this hair, I don't think it's a bad idea to just randomly grab some of these ends and just do a light balayage just to break up the color on the ends a little bit and add another layer of dimension to this. And then just look at your hair, go through, do the same thing to any more sections that you feel like you just want to see a little bit of extra love from the lightener. All right, and then that's what I did. For those that are going to ask, the formula that I used to finish this whole thing off, I did equal parts of 6 and 9 RO from Paul Mitchell's The Demi line, because I, in working with it, have grown to recognize it more as a toner and less as a longer lasting color. So having that depth, you get to tone with it. They will have it for several shampoos just to see how they like having red hair.